The Australian Institute of Architects 2023 Newcastle Architecture Awards are proudly supported by the Newcastle Major Awards partner Alspec. Newcastle Awards partners BlueScope, Bondorma Techno and Brickworks, as well as event celebration partners C&A Surveyors and Partridge. Well, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Viv O'Connell and it's a pleasure to be your host once again as we celebrate great works of architecture across the Newcastle region. And to begin the announcements with a welcome to country, I'd like to hand over to Bo de Bell.
Yama, Bo de Bell Naya, Kamilaroi Nayamuri. My name is Bo and I'm a Kamilaroi man. I would like to take a moment to explain the purpose of an acknowledgement of country and why it's important. The dreaming or dream time is actually a misinterpretation of an early conversation between Francis Gillian and the Aranda people that he was speaking with near Alice Springs in Central Australia. What was trying to be explained was the Aranda word Alkringa. My father Alkringa, his father Alkringa, his father Alkringa, everyone Alkringa. And the philosophy behind this simple explanation was the all-time, an eternal past and an eternal future. Or as it has been taught to me, the story or spirit of the land. The story of the land is what an acknowledgement of country shares with the people who are present. It recognises our place in an eternal story, on a land that we recognise as sharing with those who have stood here before us. An acknowledgement of country is not about ownership. We as Aboriginal people understand that we are no different than the country that we stand on. We do not own it. We own our own story. And at this moment, with the land that we stand on together, in the story of all time, our stories have become one. And we share this moment with the Awabakal, Warramai, Wonnarua, Darkinjung, the caretakers of this land story, the elders who have stood here before us, and those who have not yet stood on this land. We are connected to each other in this moment through the story of this land. I would like to also take an extra moment to acknowledge the 8 registered First Nations architects in Australia. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Bo. Well, Newcastle is once again kicking off the Australian Institute of Architects annual awards program, regarded as the most prestigious in Australia's design and construction industry. We'll be seeing projects across 9 categories today, from commercial, interior and public buildings to sustainable, small project and, of course, residential architecture. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Newcastle Awards partners, including awards partner BlueScope, supporters of the Colorbond Award for Steel Architecture, and we'll be hearing from Hazel Derrett for tonight's announcement. And I'd also like to acknowledge the New South Wales chapter's major event partner, Alspec, and I look forward to introducing Ross Bainham a little later on in the show for the announcement of the Newcastle Architecture Medal. And now it's my pleasure to hand over to the Institute's National President, Shannon Battison.
Thanks, Viv. It's great to be starting the 2023 National Awards program right here in Newcastle. Our coming together to celebrate awards across the Newcastle regions speaks to more than just the incredible array of high-calibre projects being completed around Australia. It speaks to the wonderful strength of our profession, both in the city and our regions. To me, great architecture is an act of generosity and of care. It speaks to not only its purpose, but a greater mission to connect to people, to place and to climate. When I look at the entries in this year's Newcastle Awards, I'm so proud of the incredible work of our profession. This truly is a legacy that we leave for generations to come. As the climate shifts around us, the role we play as a profession is becoming ever more important. Our regions are at the coalface of the climate crisis, and I hope that in the months and years ahead, we're able to come together to help the communities around us do better in the buildings we build, be they large-scale commercial or public architecture, or our most precious of spaces, our homes. So I would like to take this moment to not just congratulate you all on the incredible work that you are doing in Newcastle and its surrounding regions, but to thank you. Thank you for the work you do to see that our regions get the best our profession has to offer. Good luck to all the entrants tonight, and back to you, Viv.
We're from CKDS, and you're watching the 2023 Newcastle Architecture Awards. Hooray!
Thanks for that shout out, CKDS Architecture. Well, we're about to move on to the first round of nominees. But first, I'd like to introduce Regional Co-Chair Phoebe Glanville.
Thanks, Viv. Hi, I'm Phoebe Glanville and I'm the Co-Chair of the Regional Committee for the Institute of Architects, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's Newcastle Architecture Awards. The Newcastle Architecture Awards program is critical to the promotion and advocacy of high-level design excellence in our region. It's a platform for public and peer recognition and to celebrate outstanding architecture in our region more broadly. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the commitment and thank the awards jury who visited all the projects. Thank you, Cherry Parsons, Jade Young, David Sullivan, and Annabel Koeck. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the staff of the Institute, Joanna McAndrew, Peter Fry, Wayne Eggleton, Vivian Hay, and Ellie Pringle, who have worked with the Regional Committee the past 2 years. I'd also like to acknowledge that the Institute Awards programs would not be possible without their hard work and commitment. I would like to thank my co-chair, Noel Thompson, and my fellow Regional Committee members for the past 2 years. We have been the pioneers in the restructure of the Newcastle Division and Country Division to form the now Regional Committee for the Institute, all whilst working through a pandemic. Amongst the successful changes and events we've achieved, we've worked together with the Institute in reviewing the current awards programs for both the Country Division and Newcastle Division. The Country Division Awards will now feed into the New South Wales State Awards starting next year, and the Newcastle Division Awards will run at this time every year. It is because of this new timing with the current awards, we have had a lower number of submissions, although the projects that have been submitted are of a very high standard throughout all categories. I would like to thank and congratulate all the entrants into this year's Newcastle Architecture Awards, and lastly, congratulations to all of tonight's winners. And now let's look at the first round of nominations.
Modus Operandi Brewery by Prevalent. Hickson's Lawyers Workplace by SDA. Ape Yakitori Bar by Prevalent. Spices Tower Lodge by SDA. Singleton Arts and Cultural Centre by BKA Architecture. And Stuart Park Amenities Buildings by Port Stephens Council. Well, a great range of projects there. And we'll begin with the announcement for interior architecture, where the jury have awarded a commendation to Ape Yakitori Bar by Prevalent. Rather than the more conventional approach to fitting out a space through the introduction of new materials and surfaces, this project represents a conscious exercise in refined deconstruction. Congratulations to Prevalent. And moving on to the category of small project architecture. In this category, the jury have awarded a commendation to Stuart Park Amenities Buildings by Port Stephens Council. This is a project which has been delivered with deep care and serves to raise the ambitions for public architecture in the area. Well, congratulations, Port Stephens Council. And in the category of commercial architecture, the jury have given an award to Modus Operandi Brewery by Prevalent. An existing warehouse building has been repurposed and extended through the creation of a new polycarbonate and rammed earth form that fronts the street. The welcoming contemporary expression nods to its semi-industrial function, whilst being a highly considered architectural contributor to a varied streetscape. Modus triumphs commercially and aesthetically, making for a wonderful patron experience. Congratulations, Prevalent.
Hi, we're the team from Jurors Architecture and you're watching the 2023 Newcastle Awards. Happy awards! Yay!
Great shout out there, Derive Architecture and Design. Thank you so much for sending that through. And now to introduce the jury and give us a sense of what was involved in assessing the projects this year, I'd like to hand over to Cherry Parsons, the 2023 Jury Chair.
Thanks, Viv, and good evening, everyone. The Newcastle Awards program is a unique opportunity to showcase and celebrate architecture within the rapidly changing city of Newcastle and surrounding regions. This year, the jury visited all 14 projects across 9 categories. Despite the many ongoing challenges facing our industry and revised timing for the awards program, it was encouraging to see a high calibre of submissions with increased representation within the private residential sector. The past few years of the Newcastle Awards program has seen the results of the New South Wales Government Architects Design Excellence Review process celebrated and commended at the highest level. This year, the projects were of a much smaller scale, and those that stood out to the jury demonstrated a high level of restraint and spatial complexity in responding to surrounding contexts or existing conditions. Often it's the spaces in between or small interventions that can make a difference to the way in which people perceive, interact with and enjoy architecture. Together with my fellow jury members Jade Young, Annabel Koeck and David Sutherland, I'd like to say thank you to the Institute of Architects for their ongoing support of the Newcastle Awards program, in particular for recognising the importance of jury site visits as a key part of the awards evaluation process. It's been a privilege to take part in this wonderfully engaging experience. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and back to you, Viv.
Thanks so much, Cherry. And now on to the Colorbond Award for Steel Architecture, supported by BlueScope.
Colorbond, made by Australia.
And to say a few words, it's my pleasure to introduce Hazel Derrett from BlueScope, who sent through this message.
Thank you, Viv, and good evening, everyone. It's great to be once again involved and part of the Newcastle Awards. This year, I had the joy of being part of the Newcastle site visits and visiting projects made from Colorbond steel used in various applications. I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed the experience, and on behalf of BlueScope, I would like to thank the AIA. Now, let's take a look at this year's nominations for the Colorbond Steel Award.
Modus Operandi Brewery by Prevalent. JL House by Derive Architecture and Design. And Sacred Mountain House by Peter Stutchbury Architecture. Thanks so much for that message, Hazel. And now to the announcements. The jury have awarded commendations to Modus Operandi Brewery by Prevalent. While providing lateral bracing, Modus Operandi have skillfully incorporated into the design the steel beams that support the huge sliding partitions which divide the internal spaces in ever-changing ways. Congratulations once again to the team at Prevalent. The jury have awarded a second commendation in this category to Sacred Mountain House by Peter Stutchbury Architecture. Peter Stutchbury Architecture has created a true oasis. This courtyard home is perfectly oriented to capture the changes in seasons, as well as the daily rhythm of the environment. Congratulations, Peter Stutchbury Architecture. And we'll be back in just a moment after these messages from awards partner Brickworks and event celebration partner Partridge.
g'day. We're the team from SDA, and you're watching the 2023 Newcastle Architecture Awards. How you going? I don't know.
A little too far again. I think we're done.
Great shout out there, SDA. Very creative, love your work. Well, the next category is Sustainable Architecture, and I'd like to hand over to the New South Wales Chapter President, Laura Coburn, who sent through this message.
Thanks, Viv, and good evening, everyone. I'm coming to you from the traditional lands of the Eora Nation to congratulate all of tonight's finalists of the 2023 Newcastle Architecture Awards. I would also like to extend my acknowledgement to the traditional custodians of the land on which I am on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. It's a wonderful start to the 2023 National Awards program right here in Newcastle, celebrating the work of those who commit their careers to shaping extraordinary regional design outcomes in our built environment throughout Newcastle and its surrounds. I commend all of the finalists and the part that you play in keeping the regions intriguing, inclusive and amenable for all. The Newcastle Division is an incredibly important part of the New South Wales chapter, and we're very thankful to be able to showcase the work that happens in Newcastle and its surrounds with these awards. I'd like to thank this year's jury chair Cherry Parsons, David Sutherland, Annabel Koeck and Jade Young for their time and the deliberations, and the Institute staff who, of course, make these awards possible. Have a terrific evening wherever you are, and I hope that you are celebrating with your colleagues, your clients, your friends and your family. And now back to you, Viv.
Thanks so much for that, Laura. And now let's take a look at the nominees in the category of Sustainable Architecture. Modus Operandi Brewery by Prevalent. Carimbia by Human Spaces by Jill Gleave Architecture. Ape Yakitori Bar by Prevalent. Sacred Mountain House by Peter Stutchbury Architecture. And Aya's Place by Curious Practice. Well, a great range of nominees in sustainable architecture this year. And the jury have awarded a commendation for sustainable architecture to Modus Operandi Brewery by Prevalent. The Modus Operandi Brewery reimagines the Australian shed through the repurposing of a post-war portal frame and the tying of it with a newly constructed interface, bridging between multiple lots. Congratulations once again to the team at Prevalent. I hope you guys are having a fantastic time. And an award for sustainable architecture goes to Aya's Place by Curious Practice. This project takes a refreshing approach to an upgrade of an existing home and sustainability. It is a study of how to holistically improve a home and life without major building deconstruction. The use of simple, beautiful, modest sympathetic materials, reuse of structure rather than wholesale replacement, has invested in improvements for a further life cycle of the property. Congratulations, Curious Practice. Well, we're about to move on to the residential architecture categories. And to say a few words and introduce the nominees, I'd like to hand over to the New South Wales State Manager, Joanna McAndrew.
Thanks, Viv. Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. What an impressive show of design excellence we've enjoyed tonight to date. Congratulations to all of our winners so far on your fine achievements and for your wonderful contribution to the fabric of our built environment. To our remaining winners yet to be announced, congratulations in advance. There are a few people I'd like to thank for making tonight's awards possible. Firstly, thank you to all the practices who have taken the time to submit an entry into this year's awards or participate in the awards through your celebration shout-outs. The calibre of work this year has been outstanding. Thank you to Beau DeBill for your Welcome to Country. Thank you to our jury chair, Cherry Parsons, who has helped us navigate the Newcastle Awards program. To each of the jurors, thank you for generously investing your time and expertise into this year's awards. Thank you to our corporate partners and sponsors for their investment in this awards program. To our chapter president, Laura Coburn, thank you for your continued hard work and championing of building reforms across New South Wales and working with National to encourage the rollout of the sustainability checklist throughout New South Wales. And finally, I'd like to give a special thank you to the Institute staff, in particular my team, Peter Fry, Ellie Pringle, Vivian He, Andrea Watter and Wayne Edgelton, who have executed a well-organised Newcastle Division Awards program. And now let's roll the nominees in the residential architecture categories.
Layman Street Edition by SDA. Ayers Place by Curious Practice. The Loft by Sally Morgan Architect. Corimbia by Human Spaces by Jill Gleave Architecture. Hill House by Shack. JL House by Derive Architecture and Design. Sacred Mountain House by Peter Stutchbury Architecture. And Station Street Affordable Housing by CKDS Architecture. Well, we'll start off in residential architecture, multiple housing, where the jury have awarded a commendation to Station Street Affordable Housing by CKDS Architecture. The Station Street housing is an understated, efficient development on a compact, difficult site, working hard for residents and for tenants. Congratulations to the team at CKDS Architecture. And now moving on to residential architecture, alterations and additions, the jury have given an award to Ayers Place by Curious Practice. Rather than replacement or new build, this project is more of an intervention. The everyday spaces have been enriched with incredible garden and carefully borrowed views, beyond, across, through and up. This is a carefully considered project, a gesture of simplicity with moments of whimsical delight. With minimal new floor area and interference to the property, incredible benefit has been created, providing a refreshed living experience, ready for the next chapter. Congratulations, Curious Practice. Well done indeed to the team there. And now for the final of the residential architecture categories, Houses New, where the jury have awarded a commendation to Hill House by Shack. The Hill House, designed to nestle into an existing residential plot with a heritage home and garden adjacent, displays a commendable ambition for suburban densification. Well, congratulations to the team at Shack. And the jury have given an award for residential architecture, Houses New to Sacred Mountain House by Peter Stutchbury Architecture. The Sacred Mountain House stands confidently within the valley landscape, protected on all sides from the elements by rammed earth construction. This openness to living with the seasons has resulted in a unique home where a dialogue between natural ventilation, sunlight, prospect and refuge is created in every room. Congratulations, Peter Stutchbury Architecture. And in the category of residential architecture, Houses New, the jury have also given an award to JL House by Derive Architecture and Design. A highly considered infill project in a rapidly densifying and gentrifying inner city suburb of Newcastle, JL House presents two simple perforated metal-clad screen forms to the street, concealing a dynamic spatial arrangement of living spaces that open wonderfully to a protected double-height atrium that ensures the occupant's privacy and brings light and ventilation deep into the plan. Congratulations, Derive Architecture and Design. And we'll be back in just a moment after these messages from major awards partner Alspec and awards partner Bondorma Techno.
Established in 1974, Alspec is the market leader in the design and distribution of innovative aluminium systems across Australia. Aluminium is strong, lightweight, and 100% recyclable. Alspec is committed to sustainability and building Australia's future.
You're watching the 2023 Newcastle Architecture Awards.
Thanks so much for that message, Shaq. Now for our final award of this evening, the Newcastle Architecture Medal, which recognises the best overall contribution to Newcastle architecture. And now I'd like to hand over to Ross Bainham from the Newcastle Major Awards partner, Alspec, who's sent through this message.
Hi Viv, and good evening everyone. It's great to be part of the Newcastle Awards again. Congratulations so far to all of the winners. Since inception in 1974, Alspec has been a leader in the design and distribution of innovative aluminium systems. Alspec is the largest 100% owned private aluminium business in Australia, boasting more than 650 staff across 14 branches. We have one branch right here in Newcastle. As environmental impact becomes more front of mind for all Australians, Alspec is firmly on track to meeting our commitment to net zero carbon emissions by 2050. We still have some way to go with our supply chain, but we're firmly on track. Strong, durable, lightweight, 100% recyclable. Aluminium is a really important part of the future of the Australian construction industry. So supported by our NATA accredited testing facility, Alspec strives for the highest performing products, and we work to go well beyond Australian standards in levels of performance. With a national specification team across the country, we work directly with architects to ensure the best architectural outcomes and hopefully some great award-winning architectural projects. Alspec's vision for a fully integrated and sustainable environment will soon be showcased by our new Alspec Industrial Business Park that's been developed in Western Sydney. That's going to showcase a number of high-performance facade systems and on-site renewables. It's all part of Alspec's vision for a more sustainable and cleaner future within Australia. Now back over to you, Viv, to announce the highest accolade for the evening, the Newcastle Medal.
Thanks so much, Ross. And without any further ado, the winner of the 2023 Newcastle Architecture Medal is Modus Operandi Brewery by Prevalent. Modus Operandi Brewery is a wonderfully conceived juxtaposition of hospitality venue, brewery experience and production facility. Cleverly blurring the lines between internal and external space and patron and production space through the use of giant polycarbonate-clad sliding doors, the architects have delivered a unique and varied patron experience whilst seamlessly facilitating complex production requirements. The result seems effortless, and as such, the jury applauds Modus Operandi Brewery as a most worthy recipient of the 2022 Newcastle Medal. Congratulations once again, Prevalent. Well done once again to the team at Prevalent. And that concludes the evening's announcements. I'd like to congratulate all the recipients and indeed all of the entrants in the 2023 awards program. It's great to be able to recognise and celebrate your contribution to the greater Newcastle area. And you can find out more about tonight's projects, including the full jury citations, on the Institute's website. I'd like to take this opportunity to once again thank the Newcastle Awards partners and the Newcastle major event partner, Alspec. And if you're in Newcastle, why not head down to the Great Northern Hotel, where celebrations are taking place right now. The celebration is proudly sponsored by C&A Surveyors and Partridge. And just to note, the Prizes and Honours Awards Gala and end-of-year celebration is on the 2nd of December at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. Be sure to get your tickets through the Institute's website. Student prizes after a 2-year hiatus due to COVID are back on and currently open for submissions. The Student Awards Night will be held on the 3rd of March 2023. For more information, once again, take a look at the Institute's website. In the meantime, thanks so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure to be your host, and have a great evening. The Australian Institute of Architects 2023 Newcastle Architecture Awards are proudly supported by the Newcastle major awards partner, Alspec. Newcastle awards partners, BlueScope, Bondorma Techno and Brickworks, as well as event celebration partners, C&A Surveyors and Partridge.